Hi, John.
Hi there.
How are you today?
I'm good. A week on, you say, and I'm wearing the same shirt.
I know,
the same
strange,
background.
isn't it?
That's
It's
spooky.
still raining.
It is still raining.
So we're going to film your answers based on the question I asked on our birthday.
All right,
which was Monday the
16th birthday, yeah.
And we got many, many amazing questions in. The first one is from Stefan Van Stoppen on Facebook. And they want to know, I had heard that you won the lottery, and with that money you raised Warlord Games. Is that a true story?
No, it's a really nice story, but sadly not true. I worked at Games Workshop for 24 years and then was made redundant. So I was able to use my redundancy money to put forward to setting up Warlord Games. So lottery would have been nicer.
So the second question is from Michael Holman on Facebook, and they ask, when creating Warlord Games, did you plan on it being as big as it is today, or did you see it as just being a side hustle?
Oh, what a splendid question. I'm trying to find you the most honest answer. When I left Workshop, I thought I wasn't going to stay in the model soldier industry. I thought I was going to do something else. But I had a pent-up desire to see what would happen if somebody put out a 28mm hard plastic Roman set. And so me and my friend Paul worked on that just to see what would happen. Originally, I was going to be making Warhammer Historical, the sets of rules that Games Workshop produced. That was the plan, but that was withdrawn a bit later on. So instead, I was stuck with making Romans by then. And when that set did very well, I did think, well, there's a whole business here. So I don't want to sound swanky, but I did think, yeah, we can make this work. It can be a real business. And after 16 years, it is a real business now. But yeah, it's from small acorns, that's for sure.
The third question is from Zeke Otto on Facebook, and they say, when are you opening a location here in Florida and making millions off us Yanks?
Well, obviously we do about a third of what we sell goes to North America. So it's a very important market for us. And having lived out in America for 4 years, I do appreciate the power of the American dollar. And we're very grateful for it. At the moment, when we do all our sums about shipping, the world being a strange place, it is still, I know it doesn't sound correct, but we have done our work. It is actually cheaper for us to stay here in Little Nottingham and ship all the way around the world rather than have sub warehouses and sales offices. But we do review it every couple of years. So maybe one day we will come and get a warehouse in the States.
Fourth question is from Scott McIntyre on Facebook, and they say, happy birthday, Warlord Games. When you started, did you have any specific goals, and did you meet them?
Lovely question. Yeah, I think we've met my goals, which is making historical gaming a much broader. Now, please understand, I know that there have been dozens and dozens of wargaming companies way before me, and great writers and model makers, and there are many, many other than Warlord out there as well. But I know that we have helped popularize historical gaming across the world. Bolt Action, Black Powder, and Hail Caesar, to name but three. And I think we've done a good job of that, and we'll carry on doing it. One of my great stated things was to do the Scots Greys regiment in 28mm in plastic. That's what I always wanted to do as a child, and now I've done it. So I'm quite happy having accomplished that.
The fifth question is from Michael Inky on Facebook, and they say as well, happy birthday, Warlord Games. Thanks for everything you've brought to the hobby. In your experience, where did the best of the ideas come from? At the table, strategy meetings, or over a few beers? And if it happens to be at a pub, which one?
Curse you, you've got us there. Yeah, great question. If you get a group of wargamers together, either at a club or somebody's house or in the curry house or pub, they're certainly not short of ideas. The important thing is to get that idea and make it into something that you can sell and manufacture and ship around the world. So yeah, gamers are never short of ideas. Some get sent in to us, somebody say, hey, I think you should do this. You should write a book on this. Because a lot of war gamers, it's a bit like having a baton on every knapsack. Most gamers have got at least one book in them because they know a lot about one period. And I know quite a lot about many periods, but I don't know everything about every period. And so I quite often write back to the chap who's normally a bloke, and I say, well, look, if you can write the script, write the text, and get together all the photography, then we can print that book. But unless somebody does it, it's never going to happen because the world's so huge. Who's going to do that particular book? We need, sometimes it's not a plan, sometimes it's a man who's passionate about it. Pub is a very good place to hatch various plots. In Nottingham, it used to be the Trip to Jerusalem pub, allegedly the oldest pub in England, but almost certainly not. Where you can go down there and you can bump into the Perry twins and Jervis and all manner of ex-Games Workshop desperados who will be sitting there plotting their next games and ideas and ranges.
Great. The sixth question is from Sebastian John on Facebook, and they ask, do you regret being based in the UK as opposed to the US, for example, with the bigger customer base and less shipping costs? Very similar to another question.
That's again, it's a great question. Well, I lived in America for 4 years and had nothing but praise for what a fantastic host country to be in. Amazing experience. So if I wouldn't be in the UK, I would live in Canada or America. That would be the choice of where I would go. We do have a sales team in America, and we have John Russell, the mighty John Russell, does lots of tournaments and events out there for us. And he's got a Raiders team of up to 40 guys who go around talking about Warlord Games. And so we'll be increasing that team, I hope, over the years. And I hope to visit again soon. But we're putting a lot of love into North America at the moment.
Perfect. The seventh question is from Rob Hyde on Facebook, and they ask, what exactly happened at Games Workshop back in 2007 that resulted in layoffs and redundancies or whatever, that you all stopped working for them? Decades of working there, then poof.
I'm going to have to think back 16 years. Well, I think in companies shed their skins every few years, and if I make a sporting analogy, a rugby one, is sometimes you get some guys who can really carry the ball forward and they charge forward and take that ball right into the opponent's end, and they can do it very bravely and heroically and sensibly or intelligently over the years. But they tire, and other star players emerge, guys who understand better technologies, better marketing, or different marketing, perhaps not better, but different ways of going about things. And it's their turn, if you like, to take the ball further and further than other people can. And so companies shed their skins, and it is sad when you move on. But you miss the people, not the company as such, it's the people, because companies are people. And we all miss everybody at the old place. We're only 250 yards away from Games Workshop here, so I drive past it every day and give them a cheery wave. And so it's companies grow up and get bigger, and different expectations of staff. Sometimes they get a bit left behind. Perhaps you just don't change, don't embrace the change, and companies have to change. So I hope that's enough to answer that. But there's no acrimony. It's sad
sense
when you go.
Yeah. The eighth question is from Matthew Potter on Facebook, and they ask, if you could take any of the current product lines back in time and release it closer to when you first set up the business, what would it be and why?
If I'm understanding you, would I do something again?
I think something that you've released maybe in the last few years, do you wish that you would have released it way back then, or I think that's what he's asking.
The thing is, I'm just going to reread it. If you could take any of the current product lines back in time, release it closer. I see. Bolt action. I mean, it took us a while to we purchased bolt actions from two lovely guys, and it took us 2 or 3 years to really get it going, and it's it's our strongest line. I would have ideally started with bolt action if I was setting up again. I say we did the plastic Romans, which were great, and then English Civil War. But the real excitement seems to be in 28mm World War II bolt action, and so if we got that out a little earlier, that would have been great. But hey, we just bought out the French World War II, so we're getting it all out now. But great question.
The next question is from Jonathan Westmoreland on Facebook, and they ask, what led to you choosing Romans as your first product? Granted, Bob Naismith did a fantastic job, but what made you choose Romans first, and who made that decision?
Well, the notion of doing that box of Romans has been in my mind for a long time, but when I was at workshop, there was no way you were allowed to do historical miniatures outside of Warlord, unless you were the Perry twins and Dave Andrews and Ali Morrison. They were allowed to do it. I don't know how, but they were allowed to. But nobody else was allowed to. So I had to have that Romans on the back burner until I was released from service. Why Romans? Well, everybody loves a Roman, pretty much in history. I mean, you wouldn't want them coming into your town in 2,000 years ago, but as a trope, most people have studied them at school or college and seen all the great movies out there. So Romans look like a great place to start. If it hadn't been Romans, it would have been World War II as an archetype, and the other great one would have been American Civil War, because unbeknown to me, whilst I was working on these Romans, the Perry twins were working on American Civil War. They in fact came out with the first 28mm plastic box set about 2 months before I managed to get my Romans out, but they were doing it privately and quietly and in the corner. So that's the other one I would have done, because you can do one box to rule them all, Confederates and Unions. So in the end, Paul Sawyer, who I set up Warlord with, he's a big Roman fan. I understood the Roman army better than I did. So I would say if anybody chose Roman, it would be Paul, who understood it better.
The next question is from Amael Rodriguez on Facebook, and they ask, is there any person in the industry that you would have liked to have joined you at Warlord Games that never did? For example, having the Perry twins on board officially.
Oh, there's a whole myriad of them. What a great question. As people have moved on from Games Workshop, they're able to obviously offer their services in other ways as a sort of non-exec way and offer their services. So Rick, for instance, penned a couple of great games for us. Jervis Johnson's done stuff. All manner of great designers. The Perrys are superb sculptors, but they plough their own furrow very much. Would I like the Perry twins to sculpt? Of course. They are amazing sculptors, but they're busy with Perry miniatures themselves, so they've got no time for anybody else to sculpt for anybody else. I look at these the amazing designers around the world coming through now. I have a look at piano miniatures in Bavaria. I've forgotten the young man's name. He's 25 now, and he's a sublime sculptor. You know, I'd love him to sculpt for me, but there's many others out there, one day perhaps.
The next question is from Comedy Chrissy on Instagram, and they ask, I'd really like to know what rule set inspires John from the past till the present day, as I normally find to have such a wonderful passion for any hobby normally involves a nostalgic reference point which reinforces said passion. Bonus question, when was the last time he actively played said rule set or adapted it for a new game?
Well,
it's a big one.
Yeah, it is a good, cheeky, there's a few questions on that. Wargaming is a very broad church, isn't it? And there's many people say they're wargamers and actually don't really play many games. That might be because of geography. They're in a town where there's no other people who play, I don't know, Macedonian armies or whatever, or you might be in the United States of America where your nearest opponent is 120 miles away. Your nearest opponent in England or Holland is probably 5 miles away or 500 yards away, because we all live very close together. which enables us to get together and play lots of games in a geographical way. It's why the shows in America, people will go for 3-day shows because it's their holiday and they'll play as many games as they can. Whereas in England, it's show opens at 10, finishes at 4, everybody rushes in, buys stuff, then drives off home and they're back home in an hour. Some people game religiously at their War Games club. Every 2 weeks I go to a War Games club down in Worcester, the Friends of General Haig, a fine body of men. And it's a bit of a busman's holiday for me. So I drive down there just entirely for the chat and the iron brew and the shortbread which they give you when you go there. But I generally just sit and watch and look at the amazing model figures that they've got there, or the amount of work they've gone to make a scenario work. So I don't often play that game. So saying, my favourite set of rules is Black Powder, and I play that fairly religiously, certainly once a month at my house. I get the boys over from work and we normally lay out probably a Napoleonic battle, but not necessarily, could be pike and shot, and we get 10 of us together. I do all the cooking, I get to make all the sausage sandwiches and provide beer, and the lads generally play the game, and I will act in a sort of an umpire way and give the final arbiter of who's won and who's been a bit crafty and award the tiny prizes for the evening. So Black Powder is the one for me, and yeah, perhaps every 3 weeks we get a game in. Yeah, that would be Black Powder, my favourite.
The last question is from Sabat Miniatures on Instagram, and they ask, was there a specific tabletop game that got John involved in the hobby?
When I was a young boy living up in Glasgow many years ago when dinosaurs stalked the earth, there was Waddington's bought out a board game called The Battle of the Little Bighorn, and it had what we would call then cavalry and Indians in those old days. That's how we described them all. I know it's different now. And they were, you probably got about 10 Indians and probably 8 cavalry. And they weren't badly designed, they're quite nicely done, and they're very crudely painted. But there was a wonderful front cover, which was really quite accurately portrayed. And I so wanted that board game. And it was a board game, but with toy soldiers on it. And I thought that was quite sophisticated. My friend Robin Dews has since bought me 2 sets of it. Because my rotten dad never bought it for me. Boo. So that's what inspired me when I was probably about 6, the notion that you could play a game with model soldiers. And so that was the one that inspired me. And then it was probably Napoleon's Campaigns in Miniatures. It was an Airfix guide, a series, a set of very, very complex war games rules for the Napoleonic period. And it enabled you, it explained exactly what wargaming was and how to build up an Austrian army and how many men in each battalion and the flags and the uniforms and everything. So it really was, it was a beginner's guide, but also an expert's guide to wargaming. So that was Napoleon's Campaigns in Miniature by, I'll tell you his name in a minute. Oh, how can I forget his name? Anyway, that's the one. That was the one for me. So inspirational stuff. Great.
Well, that's it for the questions for the last couple of weeks. And of course, again, I'll be back again next week for some more answers from you.
Keep the questions coming. They're great fun. They really make me think and have fun.
Thank you.